Improvement Service Committee to order. Let it be recorded that Stoyer, Nicholson, Burnett, and Weary are present. Johnson's excused. Approval of agenda. Motion by
Move to approve. Second.
Burnett, second by Weary. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Burnett, second by Weary. Under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Regular order of business. 1, consideration of possible action on a report from request by Alderman Burnett on improving flooding issues by removing dirt in ditches and around culverts on Hillcrest Drive, specifically near West Way Drive, referred from October 9th meeting. Alderman Burnett?
Eventually, I'd like to open the floor, but we should probably hear from staff first on what
Okay.
the
Steve?
recommendation is.
Okay, following the last meeting, I did approach staff to take a look at what we could do throughout the course of this fall to try to clean those ditches out and get water flowing. Staff came back and reported that if we disturb the ditch or any surface water flow path, erosion control measures will need to be put in place until all vegetation could be reestablished. That will be at least next April or May. The minimum required erosion control measures would include erosion control mat covering any disturbed soil and ditch checks. If you're not aware of what those are, ditch checks are rows of hay bales staked into the ground perpendicular to the flow of the ditch. They have to be established at a regular interval and maintained throughout the construction. The primary intent of those ditch checks is to back water up and slow it down. One thing to remember is if operations staff would be tasked with doing this, that's the same staff who are currently out completing loose leaf collection and pothole maintenance. Engineering staff would have to get design files from the consultant, and we would have to pull them off of existing projects that they are working on. One of the reasons that this project was sent off to a consultant for design in the first place was because engineering is busy and working on other projects. So with all those items taken into account, the highest probability is that we would create a situation worse than what the current existing situation is, and we would be introducing additional erosion, additional potential for erosion in the ditch line. I did review this with the mayor, and we agree that the plan going forward is the plan that we had brought forward to you last time.
Make a motion to open the floor.
Motion by Burnett to open up
Second.
the floor, second by Weary. Under discussion. Here none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any nays? Motion carried. Okay, now the floor is now open. Just please raise your hand. I'll recognize you, and then come to the podium, please, and state your name and address for the record. Yes, sir.
John Remington, 3207 Westway Drive. I don't know how many times I have to come downtown here. This isn't the first meeting I've attended, and we were just here 2 weeks ago, and I'm back here doing the same thing again. I live on the corner of 3207 Westway Drive and Hillcrest. And this is where this problem is with this ditch. I bought this home 14 years ago. The first couple of years I lived there, I got a zero-turn Dixon mower. I could ride my ditch right through the center and cut my grass. It's progressively been getting worse and worse and worse with water backed up. Because Hillcrest, that ditch, in the 14 years that I've been there, has never been maintained. The silt is built up, it's higher than the culvert that crosses Westway at my house for the water to go down Hillcrest. It's at the top of the culvert. The silt is filled in, it's just a big cattail wetland. 2 years ago, a gentleman bought the house just east of me. I live on the west side of Hillcrest, on the corner. Conservationists came out there with their red tags, wetland. My front yard now is wetland. I used to ride my mower in a ditch. I'm going to show you, if I can, show you a picture here. This is the culvert. I'm on the corner, at the stop sign, the culvert going north and south across Westway for the water to go down Hillcrest. That's the end of the culvert on the north side. That's it right there. And this is what the ditch is. Did it go dark? Just happened.
That's the light now. And so that's your front yard,
That's,
or the culvert next?
yeah. We're at the stop sign of Westway, and the culvert crosses going north and south on Hillcrest.
It'd be nice to see it in respect to your property, you know, do you have a,
Okay, I do.
I mean, this could be any marsh anyway.
Okay, what we're talking. This is me right here on the corner. Okay, this is Westway, this is Hillcrest going north. This is Ma-
Right,
this
so
is
we're
Ma-
looking at it,
this is
so
Mason.
that's south, here's north. Yeah.
Okay. This is the end of the culvert right here that I'm showing you. There's a stop sign right here.
And you live right there.
Okay, these are all the residents here, all my neighbors. I got a couple here with me tonight. All, in the spring of the year, I have it here, spring runoff. We have rivers. This is all uphill going south here. We have water this deep coming down here into this ditch. Every one of us has sump pumps right now running either 24 hours a day or every 2 minutes to keep the water out of our basins. This is uphill, all the way from here to here. All this water goes down here to a culvert that you see in that picture right there. Now, this is built up from here to this driveway right here. This is what needs to be dug out. The ditch is about 2 feet deeper than this ditch right now. This ditch is above the top of this culvert. There's no water can seep through here. Then it goes down here, and here's a 30-inch culvert down here that I'll show you a picture of. Where this water is supposed to go and cross here and go down across Mason.
You can show that to the other folks too, if you want to show it. The map.
To,
Show it to the other two commissioners.
oh,
Thanks.
this is north. This is Mason, Hillcrest.
All right.
I'm here on the corner of Westway. The end of that culvert I showed you, it's a picture of this right here. This water comes here, crosses here, it's supposed to go down here and go here. This has never been maintained. It's built up so high that the water just sits here. There's no water running. Jesse's been up there. Now, this culvert right here, it's uphill, all the way from here to here. This is the end of the culvert that I want to show you right here, where this water should go down here and cross Hillcrest. That's the end of that culvert right there. This is built up over the years. It should have been done about 14 years ago when I first started calling the street maintenance department and talking with Tony. Nothing's been done in 14 years.
Yeah.
Okay? Just lay that down. Here I am again, I showed you the end of that culvert. This is all built up with silt and everything overall. I don't know how many years it's been since this has been maintained. This,
It drains this way.
this way, yeah. This is a nice and deep here, this ditch. Going here with a big culvert here, there's a little creek runs through here with a culvert under Mason that goes to a settling pond down here.
So it's not.
I'm gonna show you, this is the end of this culvert. That's that end of that culvert.
There's a lot of brush in there and stuff. It's kind of.
Nothing's been done to this ditch in 14 years that I live there. And it needed to be done. I've been calling and calling and calling. I've had people out there. And
The other night you were at the Board of Appeals, was that with this in mind?
2 weeks ago.
Or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Just a couple days ago, I thought
No,
you
no.
weren't there. Okay, all right.
Now, real quick, I'll just show you a couple pictures here of this whole thing. This makes it hard that these aren't sitting together. Okay, we're gonna go back to here. That's me. This is the old farmhouse, Dietrich Farm. This whole area, before any of these houses were here, was a cornfield. This is looking south. You're gonna be looking this way. That's from the south side of the old farmhouse. This picture is from my living window, looking north across Mesa. Does that look like a wetland? Why this is a wetland is because they went east of Hillcrest here, filled this all in, put a big subdivision in here, dammed all this water up, and then this has never been maintained to keep the water drainage out of here. They created all this wetland here. Now my front yard is wetland. Never was before. This is,
There's one here too.
that's a house that Judah, the builder, he had. This guy's got, I think 11 acres and 10 acres of it's wetland.
I think they've seen these.
Yeah.
Last year. John.
Because Jesse, so you're familiar with all this, so I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Go ahead.
We're good.
When we go to
Okay.
regular
Yeah.
session, John, do you have anything else?
I don't, no, go ahead, I don't care.
I'll just finish by saying, for a ditch in the city limits of Green Bay, that should be regularly maintained. I've been there 14 years and I can't even, I've had people out there. I can't get nothing done to get the water out of the front of my house. And Westway, to the west of me, all the water, rain, snow runoff, sump pumps, everything comes and sits in front of my house.
Do you have a list of how many times you've contacted the city over time? I mean,
Every year for the last 12 years.
for how many times a year? Well, just asking.
Well, at least once. And usually Tony would come out or somebody would come out and I'd walk them and show them this whole thing. Okay, I'll look into it. That's as far as it went. I never hear nothing from nobody. So I hope I give you enough information. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else? If not, I'll take a motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor.
Motion by Stoyer to
Second.
close the floor, second by Wery, under discussion here, none, all in favor.
Aye.
Nays, motion carried. Wery, did you want to speak on this?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Burnett?
Yeah, Director Grenier, you've kind of put together a plan, and from what I hear, the best plan would be to wait until this road reconstruction is completed
Correct.
in April next year. Short of that, if we wait until that time and water is in fact in the ditch retains the water, I understand why we have ditches, but is there an alternative to letting it just sit there and slowly rise, like pump it out to some area if the flooding gets to be a certain level and there's risk of flooding homes? Is there a pump, or can we pump that to a city sewer or something? There's gotta be.
I don't believe that there is a city sewer out there right now. That's one of the things that the road reconstruction project was hoping to resolve, as well as correcting the ditching out there. That was all part of the road reconstruction
On
project.
the east side of Hillcrest, though, the subdivision there, that's all sewer. Can we pump the water? If the water is getting higher and higher, especially in the spring, could we pump the water and put it to a storm sewer in the Sandia area?
We could take a look to see if something like that is feasible. I don't know if it is or not.
Okay, and then possibly to protect homeowners from facing damage to the property, can we put sandbags along property lines to prevent water from?
The city does not go out and do that kind of sandbagging of private property. We can make sandbags available if residents would like them. We've done that for others, but to have staff go out and sandbag private property is not something that we're in the practice of doing.
Okay, but that is a possibility that could.
To have the sandbags available for residents, yes.
Like drop a load of sand in bags so they can bag it on
Well,
their own?
I think we actually create the bags, correct, Chris? Right. We drop off pallets of sandbags.
Right, so that's a possibility.
Certainly.
Okay. How about private property? Could they dig a ditch on their own property, a trench to collect water and flow into the street or something? I'm just
We
thinking outside.
have no jurisdiction outside of the public right of way. That would be something to discuss with Community and Economic Services and the zoning department.
And could you just address that idea that nothing has been done for 14 years? Because I've heard that, several times.
I would argue that that's not an accurate statement. We actually did bring forward a plan to reconstruct the road back in 2017. That was a pretty substantial something that the city did. We invested tens of thousands of dollars hiring a consultant to design this road and brought forward a plan to do a full reconstruct. The residents were the ones who asked you to suspend and hold that work for some period of time.
And
That was not us.
At the last meeting, you said that the ditch, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but our policy on maintaining ditches hasn't been revisited, or we don't currently have one?
I don't know that it's been revisited in quite some time.
Okay. The mayor's not here, nor is a representative of his office, so I don't want to speak or put words into anyone's mouth, but you've consulted with the mayor, and the mayor is of the opinion that the plan you presented just now was the plan that we should proceed with?
When I discussed this with the mayor asked my opinion if we thought we were going to make a bigger problem by trying to do something this fall. And in my professional opinion, I said, I think we are. So his response to me was, they tasked you with coming back with a plan, and it sounds like you have a plan, even if it's the original one.
All right, no other questions at the moment.
Still here?
Yes, thanks. Steve, I just noticed on a few of the pictures that there was a lot of branches, twigs, et cetera, in these areas. Is there, usually when I think of a ditch or a drainage culvert, usually it's free flowing. Is there any, can you address that at all as far as, unless they're showing me something different? It just seemed like there were pictures that were showing impediments in the culverts. And is that something that, if there is that type of refuse in a culvert, that could be cleaned out occasionally by a crew? If
Typically, no different than if there's obstructions in a storm sewer inlet. We rely on residents to file a complaint, a request for service, something along those lines.
I get that.
well, that's what we're trying to get to.
I can't speak to what former
Right.
Superintendent Feetzer may or may not have done. And seeing as Tony no longer works for the city, I can't even ask him.
Well, just from what I saw, and I think that's something where the citizens and the department would have to get together on, but, if there's something that's gonna be happening in April, you still have 6 months of snowfall and all sorts of things that could cause flooding issues. I'm just looking at something that could be done temporarily to, if there's branches and impediments in these culverts, to at least get that out of the way. So, and part of that, I suppose, is on private property. You can't deal with that, per se.
Not necessarily, it might be within the public right-of-way, but how is that different than the right-of-way where a terrace tree is in front of somebody's house?
Right, I'm just
I mean,
asking.
we would expect that if that's the case, that a resident would take that branch and make a pile of brush at the curb line or along the road edge, no differently than if a branch was down or they were doing some work at on an urbanized segment of the city where they put their brush piles or leaf
I mean,
piles out.
And there is something, and I'm talking to you, but as far as the citizens go, I mean, there is something online that you can go on and you can file a formal request right online. You can follow that through. You know, a lot of times there's hearsay, you can call and da-da-da-da. I called in June, well, when did you call? That type thing. I think it just tracks it better and it helps them as well. So if there's a way that you could go online and go right to DPW and then there's a request form that you can fill out, just send that to the city. That's a more efficient way of handling this rather than just calling your neighbors and, you know, complaining about stuff. I would suggest that. So, that's all I have right now.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right, thanks.
Yep, Bree.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Uh-huh.
Director Grinyard, the reconstruction for next year, that will address this entire stretch and solve the drainage issues?
Again, provided that the capital improvement program is approved, or at least is part of it, yes. That was always the intent of this particular project, was to address some of those drainage issues.
So there's no short-term fix, you're saying just get through till?
Well, and again, the short-term fix may be worse than what the existing condition is. In addition to the ditch checks, which are going to, that's what they're designed to do, is to back water, okay? In addition to that, the design of the ditching, a lot of that ditch design is dependent upon the road project itself. So we may wind up creating unsafe inslopes on the ditches, which could create traffic problems should somebody inadvertently go off the road. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's going into this. It's not a decision that we reach lightly. But in our professional opinion, the status quo until we can get to that road reconstruction project is the better option.
Oh, yeah, that's all I have right now. Thanks.
I don't have a question.
Okay. Stoyer, then Brunette.
Okay. Steve, you did mention that 2 years ago that, you know, the project was in line to go forward and the neighbors were approached. Is that, you know, the whole issue of special assessments, I think that's what came into play, correct? Maybe at that time,
Sure.
that could have been one of the
Yep.
reasons. So, I mean, it was presented to the neighborhood, but, you know, I'm just trying to put that in perspective as far as why possibly it
Okay,
didn't go
well,
through at that time.
I'm glad you brought that up, Alder, because although the vehicle registration fee has passed, there were more than pavement assessments being levied out there. There were also, I think there were assessments for, well, I know water, but I think there was also some storm sewer going on out there, was there not?
Minor, I think.
Okay. The vehicle registration fee is simply going to address the pavement assessments that were out there. Anybody who was being assessed for water or storm sewer, those assessments are still in play. So we're still going to have assessments being levied against property out there. We're still going to have a public hearing. You know, there's still financial impact to adjacent property owners. So we're not saying this one's a done deal by any stretch of the imagination. Past practice, when a street comes forward for either resurface or reconstruct, and it is voted down, now this one hasn't been voted down, it's coming back. But in the past, when a street has been voted down, it goes to the end of the line, okay? Even if this one had been voted down in 2017, we felt strongly enough about the validity of the project that with the change in assessments and not having to go through that part of things anymore, we were still bringing this one forward. Once the pavement assessment portion of it was, we feel this project needs to happen.
Well,
We don't disagree
yeah.
with that.
Well, it's a unique situation in the sense that, you know, the zoning on that out there, the land use, it's different than a lot of other areas of the city. It's a little more rural. You got Hobart on the west. I mean, it's just, there's a couple of factors going on with that, but it did seem, I think, a couple of years ago that the costs would be very high with all the different factors for this entire project for the citizens. So I'm thankful in a sense that he didn't take it off the list, you know, because I think it is an important project. But I think right now it seems like they're more concerned about the culverts and the flooding and the things that are going on right now. So if you work on the project in April, you have design specs that have to come into play in order to take care of that. And if you do something differently now, that may change that dynamic. That's kind of the word I'm getting from you.
Well, what would happen is the erosion control requirements that we would have to put out there would likely make the condition, the backwater conditions, worse than what they are right now. Because there's no growing season left.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to do certain things in accordance with the DNR to make sure we're compliant with our DNR permit. And those conditions would be maintained throughout the course of the winter, and they would likely result in a worse condition than what currently exists.
So,
So we would be spending money to create a worse situation than what they currently have. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
right, but this is flooding issues, that covers a lot of different angles, I was just looking at the culverts with the refuse and the brush and all that kind of stuff, if that's something that could be taken care of. And, I don't know what else I can say on the matter, but, I defer to the alder too on this. Jesse, I don't know if you have anything on that.
Jesse?
Yes, at the last, first of all, the gentlemen that are at the committee now, you were not here at the last meeting. We kind of had a hodgepodge of a committee. It was myself, Alder Dorf, and Alder Johnson, and they witnessed a kind of very rigorous and vigorous line of questioning from myself, and I think it reached a cutoff point, and that's why we recommended Public Works look into this. So I asked quite a few questions to try to rectify this. One thing that I focused on was digging, the actual nature of digging, getting some sort of equipment out there, which I'm being told that that's probably not an option. Short of that though, Director Grenier, couldn't you just send some people out there to scrape, even if it's manually raking, removing whatever debris, branches, leaves that have accumulated through the years to alleviate some of the flooding, even if we remove 6 inches to a foot of debris, loose debris like leaves and branches, that would make a difference. It would at least say to the folks here and people affected that the city did something this spring to hopefully alleviate some flooding that's bound to happen. It's a low cost, it's labor, I know, but it's a lower cost option.
Again, what you're then doing is you're going to direct staff off of what the rest of this city considers to be a very critical task that they're out there performing right now.
Right. I rake leaves in my house. It's a little more intense. I know you need equipment to haul it away, but that's a reasonable solution. After this meeting, Supervisor Buckley of the county board, who lives out there, on the way home, him and I corresponded, and he mentioned that on his way home, there were leaves that were going into the ditch already, and he doesn't recall ever seeing any leaves removed from that ditch. So if there are years of accumulation of very loose debris like leaves, it takes time. Anything in this city takes time, but are you stating that that is something you are opposed to, or would you allow a use of your staff to do that?
Which staff would you like me to use?
Any public works employee that's capable of taking some rakes and a truck to load it up and haul it away to the landfill or whatever.
Okay, so you want us to maintain the right-of-way in front of the house?
The ditches, the 40, however long that ditch along Hillcrest that the gentleman, Mr. Remington, submitted. Like removing
I think you're opening up you're starting down a very slippery slope.
to alleviate flooding,
No.
to prevent flooding.
To have public works staff working in that area. The next would be having residents say that they don't want to mow the public right-of-way in front of their house, and then we've got public works staff out there mowing. This really is no different. There is an obligation to the adjacent property owner to maintain the public right-of-way adjacent to the property. That includes shoveling snow on public walks, that includes cutting the grass within the public right-of-way. If you have a ditch in front of your house, to rake leaves out of the ditch.
So the homeowners are responsible to remove debris from ditches in front of their home?
I think in this case, if that's a problem, yes.
That's an official statement of the Public Works Department?
I'm saying there's nothing stopping that.
Right. that I think opens up a can of worms, because if we don't have a policy, or you're not aware what the policy of the city is to remove or maintain ditches, then that's troublesome. So I get, this is what happened last month, is we reached, 2 weeks ago, is we reached impasse where it doesn't seem like what I'm asking is going to be met with any level of support. So would this, the mayor's office is planning the city budget to include a disaster coordinator, I forget what his position title is, to look at natural disasters and things that could be prevented. And I know that's not an existing position, but I would imagine that that position would be responsible for preventing these sorts of known disasters or flooding to occur. So I know that position isn't created, but surely we could look at what we're facing now and try to figure out a way to prevent what could be a serious flooding issue. And that's why I'm asking, removing the debris, it seems to be a reasonable situation in this exact moment. So how would I go about making that happen? Do I have to make a motion to refer to the mayor's office, or make a motion to refer the work to the Public Works Department? Like, what's the best way to do that? I'm not trying to be difficult, I just procedurally want to know what your opinion is.
I don't know how you go about that.
Any ideas from some of the elders? Chairman?
Yes.
Any ideas how, as a as an individual city council member, I think my hands are tied. I can't direct city staff to do something if their department head is opposed to doing it, so procedurally.
It looks like two issues. You either support staff's plan, or as a council, you have council order our director to do whatever you're looking for in legal means. That's how I look at it. I do not see any solution for any temporary relief. So either this is how I look at it. Staff's plan, or convince the council to order DPW to take care of whatever you're looking for, to take care of the situation. That's how I look at it. But that's how I look at it. Alderman Steuer?
Well, when, looking at the pictures and understanding a little of this project over the last couple of years, it's a unique area. I understand some of the issues that Public Works is dealing with on this. I also understand the frustration of the citizens out in that area. And, we're just trying to come up with some kind of a solution. We're not trying to point fingers and say, you're not doing it, and you're not doing it, and there should be accountability here. I mean, granted, my yard, I rake my leaves, I shovel, I do, whatever. If leaves are blocking up the street, when it flows, I keep the leaves up on my lawn. It's just common sense kind of thing. So I guess, with some of the folks that live out here, they have 200 feet of frontage or more. They got a long area, and they live out there, and they've had the benefits of living kind of in a rural, kind of nice area. I mean, I've been out in that area. It's pretty nice, parts of it. So, trying to tell them to say, okay, you got to maintain 200 feet or 250 feet of your property, that's quite an undertaking. But if that's what citizens are supposed to do, we take care of my yard's only 78 feet wide, so it's not all that difficult. It's harder for me now, I'm getting a little older, but I do it. So I'm not quite sure on this one. It seems to me that this is moving forward in April, and I'm saying if we can wait like 6 months, there's going to be some issues of flooding and things like that in 6 months. But if the citizens can wait for this plan to take fruition, then I'm thinking that there's a 6-month window here that we have to deal with. So piggybacking on what Alder Burnett said, I could see something where, if nothing else, you know, like when the trucks go out and pick up the garbage and the refuse and all, and the recyclables, take a look at it and just say, look, can we have a day where one of our trucks, or somebody just goes out there and kind of helps clean that up a little bit, works with the citizens? I'm just looking for some kind of something where we both can work together. Very temporary, just kind of clean it up a bit. That's what I would propose.
Are you making a motion?
I'll make a motion out of that. No, well,
Do you have all that? Or do you want me to repeat it?
well, I don't know what, you know what?
I'm just gonna.
I don't know,
Steve.
that's kind of a loose.
Do you want me to repeat it?
That might be a little loose.
You want to
Chris,
work on it?
I'm gonna work on that.
Okay.
Can I make a motion to open the floor
Second.
here from the interested
Let's
parties?
let,
Motion to
listen
open
the
up the floor
citizens.
for interested parties by Burnett, second by Worry, under discussion. Here none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the floor is now open. Just please raise your hand. State your name and address for the record, please.
John Remington, 3207 Westway Drive. In the spring of the year, do I need to show you where my house is again on the corner there, Hillcrest and Westway?
Are you in
And
the
then I
corner?
showed you where the
You're on the
culvert
corner.
crosses and it's
I
all
saw that.
plugged up. And I have neighbors sitting right here who can verify this, and Mr. Buckley can verify it too. The water comes down to the stop sign in front of my house. There's no place for it to go. It goes, the ditch is 4.5 feet deep. It goes over the road, it goes over the street. It can't go down through the ditch
And why? Because there's stuff in it? Or what?
because of the silt. It's up to the top of the culvert. From the culvert, I can show you the picture again. There's a pool of water about that big, and you can throw a leaf down there, it don't move. Water will not go through silt. That's dead grass roots, cattail roots, everything else. It just builds up over the years, and it's full. The water cannot seep through that. And that's what's created this whole wetland to start with. You're talking about cleaning the culverts out. I showed you that one with the limbs and everything in front of it. That crosses Hillcrest. Last year, they came up there, they jetted all of our driveways and this one that crosses Westway. And they x-rayed them for when the reconstruction, so that they know what culverts have to be replaced. That big culvert that's got all that debris in front of it down, that crosses Hillcrest, where this water's supposed to go, they didn't do anything with that. No, Mr. Renier here, he's saying we should be responsible in cleaning the ditch out. I have access to a backhoe. Is that what he's saying? 'Cause I can dig it out. Thank you.
Can you do that, Steve?
That's not what I said at all. Alder Burnett was asking me about removing leaves.
Right,
That's what I was talking about.
okay. They can take care of leaves in a ditch, can't they?
Absolutely. They mow
Okay.
through they mow the ditches when they
Well,
can.
where do they put their leaves for the city to pick it up? Can they fill the ditches up? Leaves? No?
No, you can't fill the ditch.
Where do they put the
Alongside
leaves
the
in?
road, alongside of the road is where we prefer
Okay, got it.
the shoulder.
I'd like to say one more thing, and Jesse brought up a good point. This ditch is not, the ditch was there. That ditch has been there for, I don't know, 80, 90 years. It just hasn't been maintained and it's filled up and the water can't go down the ditch. Jesse brought up a good point. What I can see, Steve, if you take 6 inches of that silt out of there, our water problem would be over. We don't have to dig that much of a ditch out. Just 6 inches. That's all that needs to be cleaned out, and that water can flow through there. So that driveway between my house and Mason, there's only one driveway on that side of the street. The water don't even get to the culvert right now. Don't even get there.
The culverts along, with just the one culvert you're talking about?
Yeah, east side of Hill.
East side of Hillcrest?
Yeah.
Okay, there's one. All right.
This one right here. The water don't even go to that culvert.
Okay.
It don't go to this culvert from here. It don't even go to that culvert to go down through this deep ditch and
All
through
right.
that one.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Remington?
Okay, this is where the water comes down here, this is downhill, goes through the culvert, stops right here. It don't even go to this culvert, this guy's driveway. And this is a nice deep ditch where it's supposed to go down to this culvert.
This section and this section here?
Well, this has been backed up for so many years now, like when I first started. 14 years ago, I used to ride my lawnmower right up through that ditch and cut it. Well, it's been backed up now. The gentleman bought this property here and built a house. And they came out there and tagged it with red tags. The front of my yard's wetland now. That's how bad it's gotten. Because of the water backed up.
Anything else, Mr. Remington?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Pat Buckley,
Thank you.
address.
For the one, 3249 West Point Road, also 3222 West Point Road. So it's the corner of Hillcrest and West Point. Again, for the ones that weren't here the last time we were here, with our storm water management fees, that's what we should be using that money for, is to take care of the storm water management. We get charged for them, and we pay them. That's what it should be used for. Now, I know this is government, and we're right back here again to rehash this. And I did a little checking with some other people, and other communities don't seem to have a big problem getting this done on a every so many year basis. But we're at a point right now, because it has been neglected for numerous years. Even if the mowing was kept up, we'd be in a lot better shape. But even if you go out there right now, you can see how it just fills up with leaves and nothing gets done about it. And it just compacts and compacts and compacts. Now, I'm told that, you take a surveyor out there, or a, whatever they have to do to shoot the grade, and you take a backhoe that are on the wheels, not on the track, so it's not direct what's left of our road out there. And it's not that long of a project. It's rather, a quick project. Other communities do it on a regular basis. I don't understand why the city of Green Bay can't take care of this so that we can avoid having basements flood out. I mean, we have enough flooding in the city of Green Bay, and we need to try to start being proactive about it. Otherwise, I really feel that the city then should be responsible for the damages to the properties. And I look at, I understand Steve has a lot of work on his plate. We all are busy. We're all busy. But that's what his job is to do, to get this stuff done. So, I look at it as, how much time would it really take? I mean, if you pull some of the guys that are doing the crack filling on the far west side off, you get 6 guys doing that. You don't even need that many guys, but put them out there for a couple days, this project would have been done. It does create a lot of problems. All summer long, it's created problems, especially this summer, but especially in the springtime. When you're backing up water blocks, so it goes into blocks, several blocks from there, it's a problem. And what do we have to do to get the city to do something?
Pat, I was going to ask.
Question?
Yeah, I have.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Pat, I was going to ask you, what the citizens were talking about, the leaf pickup, and Steve mentioned too that the leaves are pushed off to the side. I mean, in my neighborhood, the leaves are picked up and the trucks take them away somewhere. And you've lived out there quite a while. When it's leaf pickup time, in your understanding, where do the leaves go? Do they stay in the neighborhood, or are they picked up and delivered elsewhere?
My road, they're picked up and taken off my road.
Okay.
I think the biggest problem right now we have is it's an unmaintained area. We've had a lot of development out there over the years, even since I moved out there back in the 94, 95 range. We've had a lot of development, and we haven't taken into consider the water management. But you have all the leaves from the fall, and there's a lot of trees out there that end up just falling right in the ditch, and it just raises that level and backs up the water. And
So is there a better way you think that pick them up so that it might not happen? Just avoid.
well, the problem is the way it's at now, it hasn't been maintained in years. So it's either going to be swampy right now and full of crud. So you can't put a lawnmower down there. You really need a small or a backhoe to dig it out. And it obviously can't be on the track. It's got to be on the wheels. I'm not sure if the city has one. I know the county has one. or they have to rent one. Does the city have one?
We have a backhoe, but it's not suited for that type of work. It's too small.
I know they can, I was told they can be rented, and like I said, I don't know what the relationship is with the county, maybe they can borrow one from the county. But it just seems like we're making a big ordeal to try to prevent more flooding in the city of Green Bay, when we should be working with the citizens. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, close the floor. If anybody else wants to speak? Yes, sir.
I gotta say my name again?
Just try it, I don't care.
John Remington, 3207 Westway Drive. This stretch of ditch that we're talking about on Hillcrest that needs to be dug out is 450 feet. Just so you know the length of the ditch. So
Okay.
they can figure out what the cost would be or whatever else. It's not a half a mile or a mile, or it's only 450 feet. I measured it.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Motion to close the floor.
Oh, and again, there's a fire hydrant sitting just up from the stop sign in front of my house. We had a fire out there about 4 years ago. If I can't within 12 feet of my ditch. I go down in there, you're gonna go to your knees in black mud. You should have seen what the firemen had to go through with that fire hydrant. That's where they come and got their water for that fire that day. There's a fire hydrant sitting right there in that muddy, swampy ditch.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion
Thank
to
you.
close the floor.
Motion by Burnett to close the floor, second by Stoyer. Under discussion here, none. All in favor? Nays, motion carried. Floor is, we're in regular order of business. Burnett?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion, and I'll repeat it 2 times to make sure it's heard and entered. Motion to refer to the mayor's office a request to direct Public Works to coordinate and enact a short-term plan to avoid preventable flooding this fall, winter, and spring along Hillcrest and Westway, to include but not limited to removing debris from ditches, pumping water to available storm sewers, and providing sandbags to residents to protect their properties.
Second.
Do I need to repeat it? It's recorded.
Steve, do you want it repeated?
Get it off of the audio and the video.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Burnett, second by Worry. Under discussion, Worry.
Well, in essence,
Burnett.
I think the
Take a
mayor's
number.
office, we have hired and we reclassified a position to a community relations specialist, I think is the title. He's helped me with these sorts of issues. I personally would like to approach the mayor on this to see if something can be done. So that's the purpose of the motion.
Okay, sounds good, Worry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just found it, I Googled it, we have this Adopt a Ditch brochure from the city of Green Bay. I just Googled ditch on our website, and it does say the homeowner is responsible for maintenance of it, but it does say over time, when it stops functioning properly due to, silt buildup, the city comes out and fixes it, repairs it. And I know we're gonna do that with the road project, but it seems like we ignored it for a long period of time. And now we're in this gap between when we do fix it, which, should have been a couple of years ago, but we're in this gap right now that we caused by ignoring it for so long that, I'll support it, the motion to try and find, something, whether we just take the loose stuff off the top and 6 inches just to get it flowing. Where there's a will, there's a way,
And
Can't be.
again, just, if I may,
Yep.
Go ahead, Steve.
the Department of Natural Resources isn't gonna care if we go 6 inches or 4 feet. If it's land disturbing activity, on their eyes, it's land, and unfortunately, we're covered by the MS4 permit. We're really caught here, so. If DNR comes out and tells, if this goes through
Right.
and so on and so forth, the DNR tells us to put the bales in and we wind up backing the water up, that's what's gonna happen, so. I just wanna be clear about it and why.
Well, at least
Thank you. Okay, all in
Okay,
fa,
go ahead.
all in favor?
Aye.
Nays,
Aye.
motion carried. So this is going to the mayor's office, correct?
That's correct?
Yep.
Well, go to the
Okay.
council meeting on the 5th, but
Oh, yeah,
I'll
this is
talk
a
to them. I'll
recommendation,
talk to
but
the
if it
mayor
passes, it
before then.
goes to the, okay. All right, I gotta go to another meeting, I'll be back. So whoever wants to take over, have at it.
all right.
I can, you'll do the
Oh,
next
that's fine,
meeting. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, why not?
Alderman Nicholson is excused. We still have a quorum with the addition of Alderman Mark Stoyer. On to item 2, consideration with possible action on request by Alder Stoyer to study and report out on the feasibility of utilizing the even-odd residential address overnight parking scenario as is done in Milwaukee in order to relieve the parking problems at residences with limited parking spaces. We held this at the last September 25th meeting of the INS committee. Alder Stoyer.
Well, I'm sure Public Works will give me some information as well.
Usually want to add some.
Well,
basic comments.
you know, I'd almost like to open the floor first. Citizen is here. I like
I'll
her to
entertain a
speak.
motion to do that.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Alder Stoyer, second by Weary, to open the floor to hear from interested parties. Ma'am, if you want to come up and identify your name and address for the
Sure.
record.
Leanne Kramer, 702 Neville Avenue, Green Bay, 54303.
Okay, thank you for being here.
You're
Go ahead,
welcome.
share your
Thank you
thoughts.
for letting me talk. I guess, you look at it, I've been a resident of the city since '89, and we bought our first house in '94. We had never thought about parking because we didn't have children, and we didn't, we had a long driveway at the particular house. We moved to the Neville house, and the parking situation leaves you with spots, a double driveway that fits one car each, and spot to park a car across the apron at the bottom. And after I started encountering all these issues, started being more observant, driving around different neighborhoods. People probably think I'm a little weird, but, looking at, they have a short driveway, they have a long driveway, boy, they can park like 5 cars there, they can only get 1 there. And starting to think about, okay, do people, when they buy the house, and they have young children, do they really think about, oh wow, when they get to be driving age, they're all gonna want their own car, they're all gonna have, what are we gonna do with parking situation? And unfortunate, the area that I live in, I love my house, and I love the neighborhood, the mature trees and everything else. But the thing is, you have to remember, these houses were built in the 1940s, 1945. So back then, people had 1 car and 1 car only. And that was it. And now you have, everybody in the family wants their own car. Mother and father each need their own car because they both work. If you have 2 children, they each want their own car. There's 4 vehicles. And you can ask for parking exclusions for 2 weeks at 6 times a year, which leaves you with, my math being correct, that's 12 weeks. And we have 52 weeks in a year. So what do you do, and they cannot be consecutive, what do you do for those remaining 40 weeks in a year if you have more than 4 vehicles? Right now, I'm fortunate enough that I have a neighbor that says, hey, yeah, you can park in my driveway. But if I wasn't fortunate enough to have a neighbor that was friendly, and I've been friendly with him, what do? Something needs, and I think, granted, if we have a snowstorm, it's put out there that it's a snow emergency, all vehicles have to be out the road. I don't have a problem with that. But the problem I have is, if I'm paying the taxes and I'm helping for everything else, why I can't park on the road, but like Mark did the research, I'm willing to pay $35, $40, $45 for a year permit to have that luxury. I really don't think I should have to, but worst came to worst, I'd be willing to do that, and that money could go back into into the parking divisions, because if I paid 45, right now, parking tickets are $27 for your first ticket. So you almost have it paid for by getting, if you get 2 tickets, you already got it paid for. You know, so I think something needs to be, we need to change with the times. This parking ordinance has been on the books for way too long. You know, it's just, it's outdated. It's not with the current time. It would be almost like saying to the city, we're not gonna use computers to do work, and we're not gonna do this. That we're, you know, like, we're gonna stay in the rock ages. Well, we gotta move with the times, and the times are families, everybody wants their own car, and we need to move forward. We need to change something. That, you know, because I'm sure if you start going around your neighborhoods, unless you're out on the far outskirts of town, where you have a big, huge house, a 3-car garage, you don't have a problem. But if you're in the inner city, drive around town, you'll see the problems. You know, so I want something done. I need something done. You know, it's to have to sit and think about where are we gonna park cars is something I shouldn't have to be worried about. It's something so, in my eyes, minute, and should be able to rest easy on that whole subject and put my energy towards more important things in my life.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Quick question, Mark?
Well, no, Leanne's in my district, and I actually got to meet her when I think your husband pulled the car out at 4:18 in the morning, and you got a ticket.
Yep.
He just parked it on the street, and he was just moving them around. So it was kind of like you were frustrated. I understand your frustration. So I worked along with Leanne, we've talked about this a number of times, and some other neighbors as well. But I grew up in Milwaukee,
Sorry to interrupt, Mark, but do you have a question
Oh,
for her?
no,
So we can.
you're-
But I
I'm
guess
sorry about that.
going off of that
Yeah,
point,
sorry.
you know, the parking division they're Nazis. I don't know what else to say, because like, they have given me tickets for the most stupidest things, and I don't like the word stupid, but that is the only word I can come. My husband got a ticket for his motorcycle tire touching some grass. We moved a car out onto the street at 5:25 and got a ticket.
Okay.
Because it was 5 minutes. Now I sit there and watch the clock and go, okay, it's 5:30, we can move cars. It's ridiculous, really.
Well, thank you for
Sure.
speaking. Anyone else would like to speak to the agenda item? Okay, I'll entertain a
Motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor by Alder Steuer, second by Weary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. There are a few staff members here, Director Grenier or Chris or someone from your department want to speak to it first.
Sure. At the last meeting, what we were asked to do was to bring back some relevant data regarding the number of actual requests that were fielded by the Department of Public Works to determine how big of an issue this is. And then also, we were requested to have police presence here so police could weigh in on their concerns with on-street parking during the prohibition hours. Mr. Pirlot did take and work with our GIS department. That's the information that we handed out to you just now. One is a list of bullet points. The other is what we refer to as a heat map. The different colors, the more intense the color. Green, blues are low incidence. As we start getting into the yellow and red, that's a higher incidence. And then the points, the red dots, are actual locations mapped geographically of where we've received these so far this year. As Chris has indicated in the summary document, so far between the 1st of the year and the 8th of October, there were 7,917 individual on-street parking requests. There are approximately 34,000 residences in the city of Green Bay. Overnight parking requests are relatively evenly spaced with I-41 on the west border and Bader Street, Dan's Avenue on the east side, so there is no data to support that the core of the city has a higher incidence. It's pretty well distributed, even out as far as I-41 on the west side and Bader and Dan's on the east. Actual data identifies that there's an average of only 28 overnight on-street parking requests on any given night. If you look down under what we've determined as worst-case scenario, there are 26 available 2-week parking, on-street parking exemptions available for any of the 34,000 residences within the city of Green Bay. That comes out, if somebody were to use all 6 of them, there's 2.8 million opportunities for somebody to seek on-street parking, and we're looking at a projection of about 10,000 for the year. So if you look at 10,284, it looks like a big number until you compare it to the number of potential on-street parking requests at over 2.8 million. We really are talking about a pretty insignificant number. Now, I get it that it's significant if it's in front of your house. Okay, but when we're looking at an area-wide or a city-wide kind of an approach, we're talking statistically only on a statistics basis, we're looking at a statistically insignificant number of requests. So even at a 5% overnight on-street parking request, the current on-street parking program is very manageable by the parking division without any modification. We do have an on-street parking that does allow for allowances. Now, Ms. Kramer did identify the 6, but there have been folks who've come in and requested, appeared before the committee, requested more than 6. As a matter of fact, I do remember a business owner on South Broadway got a blanket exemption. So, I mean, those opportunities are there. And Parking Division maintains that there's currently no need to change the citywide on-street parking permit program. So that's the information you asked us to bring back. And again, if you've got any questions relative to police on this matter, we did ask, and the chief is here.
If I could, Alder Starr, I know you have a question, but could I hear from the chief first? And then you probably have questions for both. So Chief Smith, could you explain the public safety component of this?
Sure. I talked to Director Grenier, and he asked that I come by here and talk a little bit about. I talked to my staff, many of whom have been here for many years, working in this area, and what their concerns were with it. My concerns are broken down into basically 3 categories. One is public safety. Number 2 is complaints about people and inconvenience, and number 3 would be blight. I've lived in cities that have on-street parking. I lived in cities that don't. So I have a little bit of familiarity. In fact, for 6 years, I had to move my personal car, because I didn't have a garage, from one side of the street to the other side of the street, back and forth every week to avoid that ticket that you get on the weekly parking if you're on the wrong side. One of the issues we have is that we have very narrow streets in many places in Green Bay. Those narrow streets are cleared most of the time at night because people aren't allowed to park in there. If we allow overnight parking on these streets, it'll significantly narrow the streets. One of the problems we have here is when the streets are, when the snow comes, the sidewalks don't get shoveled, and so people tend to walk on the streets. We've seen incidents, and I mean, Mr. Kennedy, I believe his son, was killed in an accident that occurred because he was using his wheelchair, couldn't get on the sidewalk because the sidewalk wasn't clear. This would exacerbate that problem by moving people not from the curb line, but 8 or 10 feet out into the roadway, which is going to be even more narrow. My officers were concerned that with a narrow roadway, even in slight amount of snow, there would be more traffic collisions of cars skidding into cars that are parked right next to them as they're trying to make their way down the street. Several of my staff members talked about complaints. If you allow on-street parking overnight, people will start to bring in larger vehicles. People using plumber's trucks or heating and air conditioning trucks can park those cars or those vehicles on the street. In other times, they would say, well, I'll leave it at the shop and I'll take my car and put it in the garage. Well, now I don't have to. I can take the plumbing truck home or the HVAC truck home or the other commercial truck home and park that on the street. So those vehicles could be parked on the street. That blocks people's driveways and ability to see as they're getting out of their driveways, especially during the hours of darkness. But my personal biggest concern is that if you allow street parking, people will change their lifestyles to be accommodated by the ability to park on the street. And what I mean by that is this. My experience has been if someone has a garage and they don't have a place to put their car, they keep it in the garage. If suddenly they have a place to park their car on the street, they don't need that car to be in the garage. They can park that car on the street and use their garage for something else. Storage for things. I've seen people rent out their garages as additional housing for people. I've seen people turn their garage into a man cave, lock the door, put in a sofa, up goes the TV, and then you've got a man cave and your car's parked out on the street. The other problem is people don't get rid of cars that they should have gotten rid of, and they buy cars that they shouldn't have because now they have a perfect place to park it right in front of their house. I've seen many, many times a broken vehicle that has not functioned in sometimes years moved weekly by two people pushing it across the street, make a U-turn, park it on the other side of the street on that day. Next day comes around, they push that vehicle back over this way. I ask you, have you ever seen anybody wash a car that's parked on the street? I don't see people wash their cars on the street. What happens to an abandoned car or a car that's parked on the street week after week after week? It doesn't get washed, becomes dirty, blighted. You see the spider webs on the bottom, the leaves collect on it, the bird droppings on it, and it becomes one of those blighted things that we see in the street. I certainly feel for this woman in her plight trying to find 4 cars into a 1 car or 2 car space, but I really don't see any upside to it, and I see a lot of downside to it. Public safety concerns, blight concerns, complaints about people parking commercial vehicles on the street. To me, it's really tough to see an upside to it. And $34 for a parking permit isn't going to put much of a dent in the city's budgetary woes that we're having right now.
Oh, Sawyer, do you
I'll
have a question?
follow that up. No, well, I appreciate it, Chief.
Sure thing.
You know, I have some just general comments.
I have a
Well,
question.
go ahead, why don't you?
Chief Smith, my opinion when this has come up in the past and what I've heard from previous chiefs as well, police chiefs, is that when cars are parked on the street, within the cars crime could occur within the cars, whether it be drug dealing, illicit activity. Is that a concern?
Well, that is a concern, but also, and I probably should have shared this a little bit more, we have a big problem in the city with people breaking into cars. It's a lot harder to break into a car if it's in a locked garage. It's almost impossible. If the car's parked out on the street, we've seen many times youngsters in the middle of the night will walk down the street and try all the car doors. If it's open, they're in. If there's something valuable in there, they take it. We get a call the next morning, hey, somebody broke into my house or into my car and took my cell phone charger, took my purse, my sunglasses, my CDs, whatever they happen to have in there. So I think there's a lot more potential for crimes to occur when a car's parked down the street as opposed to being parked in somebody's garage.
How about at night, when overnight cars going through and hitting the car? That requires time from your officers to go to a hit and run or whatever.
Certainly, and that's what I mentioned with the narrower street, there would be more propensity for someone to strike that car. And at night, especially if there's a snow emergency, I think we would see, and my staff also opined that we would see more traffic collisions involving cars because of the narrowness of the street and the fact that there's a car parked right there.
How about this, from a neighborhood watch component, that if I have a car parked in front of my house that I'm not familiar with, and it's there 2, 3, 4 in the morning, all of a sudden as a homeowner, parent, you have concerns. Is that an issue as well, like general peace and order of neighborhoods?
Certainly, people having a car parked in there, we get a lot of calls, or we get calls for that. Hey, there's a strange car parked in front of my house, I don't know who it is. You know, our officers would roll by there and take a look at it. Oftentimes, and where I used to live, we'd get a call, hey, this car's been there for forever and they won't move it. Okay, well, we'll put a 72-hour notice on it. We post it for 72 hours. 72 hours later, we can go back and actually tow that car. But meanwhile, if the guy moves it around the corner or pushes it down the street or over to the other side, takes the notice off, then the car's not where it was, and we have to start all over with the 72-hour notice.
Thank you. Very good explanation. Any other questions for the chief?
Actually, Chief, thank you, Chair. No, these are all valid points. I mean, when I've talked to Director Grenier about this as well, like I said, I grew up in Milwaukee. We allowed it in Milwaukee. So the fact is, Green Bay is a big city in terms of land area. I asked Director Grenier when I talked to him in his office the other day if we could have it so that possibly the citizen in a confined area could have a permit. So like I said, and he said that it's all or nothing. That's basically what I got from him. So, you know, you were talking about plumbing trucks and such. You know, I got a list. I looked up other cities too. I looked up 17 different cities around Wisconsin that, 10 of them allowed it, 7 did not. And I don't have that list right in front of me, but there were 17 different communities, larger sized cities. And there's always going to be worst case scenarios when you're bringing up some of this stuff. And the whole thing about wintertime, we don't care about, that would be off the table.
During the snow emergencies.
Right, that would be off the table. So, the streets being narrower, I know I gotta be asking you some questions on this, but I just, with a plumbing truck that or something like that, you could have it such that, okay, only the person's vehicle, that lives in that particular house, they would wanna park by their house. They need to have a permit that they would pay for. It would be in front of their house. Any other car, they would have to purchase a permit. So if somebody had an abandoned car or was doing whatever, if they parked on the street and they didn't have a permit, then it's a moot point. So I'm looking at it strictly from two standpoints: to relieve the pressure of people that have smaller homes, they have 4 cars, they only have room for 2 or 3 to park. That if they bought a permit, a parking ticket's $27, you bought 2 of those would equal the amount for a permit. And that's all I'm saying. I realize that, there's police activity, you go back and forth. If they have a permit in their car that they paid for and have it parked by their house, even odd, to me, that's not a big issue. So I'm looking at it partly for that and also partly to raise some monies. You mentioned that there may not be a whole lot raised. Last year in the city of Milwaukee, even though it's a bigger city, they raised $4.5 million in revenue, from these permits. Green Bay is 1/6 the size, it would be about $800,000, and that could be put back into the parking utility. We even asked about, can it be used for improving roads, but Director Grenier pretty much stated that, they have to go back to parking utility. So, you can look at Stevens Point, Appleton, all these other communities that some of them do allow it, and there's others that don't, and there's valid reasons on both sides. I understand you have a job to do, I understand Director Grenier has a job to do either. I'm talking about a citizen who has a distinct issue, and she's not alone. There are many in this city. The city has changed. You got smaller houses. You don't have the room to park. So if you could buy a pass or a permit to take care of that, that would be take care of one issue, and then the other issue would be that there would be monies that were being brought in as revenues. And with tight budgets these days, we're always looking for revenue sources, and I think that it would be a revenue source. So that's all I have right now.
Okay, any other questions for Chief or staff?
Thanks, Chief.
Alder Dorr?
Comments today.
Go ahead.
So, right now, I'm really not in favor of allowing the parking on the street, because to me, it seems like there's a small problem where there are some families that need a place to put their cars, and I don't think a solution should be open it up to the whole city and encourage it. So I'm wondering if we could look for a different solution. I know Director Grenier said that there have been some exceptions made, maybe looking at a program like that on a much smaller scale. I also think as far as the revenue, you need someone to enforce this. So I think some of that revenue is going to be taken away by people enforcing which side of the street the car is on, and if they're on the wrong side, or if they're there for a long period of time, if they have to get towed. I think some of that revenue would be eaten up by that. So I understand the problem. I just would like a smaller solution, because I don't think it's a problem. I'm sure it's not a problem out in my district very much, but it's a different district than your district, So maybe a solution that would address people that really need it, like families.
Well, and Alder Dorff, thank you for your comments, but I did talk to Director Grenier about that, and it seemed like it was an all or nothing type of thing. Now, I know we have issues with, not issues, but we have a setup where you can have 6 events during the year.
I understand what we have.
We have, you know, I know.
I know, I
But
have
we
that.
have that, but I'm just saying that a lot of times those events are used up.
Got it, but I also heard Director Grenier say that there was someone on Broadway that managed to
There was
get
one person, right, and I'm gonna talk to him about that. And that
Okay.
might be the solution, that'd be fine. But I hadn't heard that before.
Okay, so
I
maybe
just-
there's just a smaller solution.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Alder, appreciate it. Any other discussion, otherwise I'd entertain a motion.
If I could, I
Director Grenier.
have two things that I'd like to bring up. We're lucky to have one of the assistant city attorneys here tonight, so I get to impose on her just a little bit. And all I'm asking you to do is stop me from saying something that's incorrect. The discussion relative to the all or nothing, what I was trying to communicate to Alder Steuer is we can't be discriminatory. So the parallel I said, that I drew for him, we can't have a rule that only applies in the core of the city and not on the outskirts of town unless there's a justifiable, defensible reason for that. Otherwise, it could be determined to be discriminatory. And again, the parallel that I drew was, we have a condition written into our zoning ordinance that allows people to park in the front lawn, or on the lawn, essentially on Packard game day, okay? But that's not limited to the stadium district. I live on the far east side. Operations Director Pierlot lives out near Red Smith, okay? If Chris so chooses, he can charge $15 a head and have people park in his front lawn out by Red Smith School.
That's 10 days a
For
year.
the experience of having a tailgate party on Packard game day, and that's allowed under ordinance because to geographically limit it without a valid reason would be discriminatory. That's what I mean by an all or nothing, okay? If there's a reason that's allowable under law to limit that area, that's okay, but just to say because it's needed downtown and it's not needed on the outskirts, that doesn't pass that same test. So that's why I want, and you don't really need to elucidate on
I
that.
agree with you.
What's that?
I tentatively agree with you, but
Okay, and
I believe that is accurate.
I just don't want to, okay. And the other point that I just simply want to make is, I know we keep referring back to snow emergencies, okay? We average less than one snow emergency a year in my 10 years as director. I haven't called one every year. Yet we have anywhere from 6 to 20 plow events, okay? Don't get mixed up between a snow emergency and the need for us to plow. Snow emergency means everybody has to be off the street, and if you're not, we'll tow. When we do declare a snow emergency, we overwhelm the towing companies. There's still that many people, because it's no longer, the snow emergency is not 3 to 5 a.m. The snow emergency is the duration of the storm that we dictated. And just so that we're clear on that, there is a difference between us plowing and a snow emergency.
Thank you, Director. Any questions, motion?
Is the floor still open?
No, we closed it.
We closed it?
Yeah, that's, we
All
have a
right.
Parks Committee next, so we have.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I brought this up, and there's a lot of great information here, and I spoke with Director Grenier, and I listened to Police Chief Smith on this as well. As a representative, I came forward with something that I thought should be looked at. And you can throw holes into any kind of situation that comes forward. My thought is that there's some legitimacy for at least looking at it. So there's other cities, other communities that have done it. It's not a perfect science. Milwaukee's a lot different city than Green Bay in terms of, streets and such. But like I said, Green Bay has grown from the river. You got near west side, you got near east side. And you've got my district, Alderwerdy's district, among others, has an issue. We do have issues with parking. Now, if we could work with Director Grenier on that, you mentioned that there was a blanket permission for one person to park. If there's some alternatives that we could look at where citizens could come forward and say, I need space, I need to be able to park, I will pay for a permit. If something could be worked into the system where that would be allowed, so it's not discriminatory, I'm all for it. And I would definitely like to see something like that looked at.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion, or?
Oh, want to say
Alder,
something?
Sure, yeah. It's been probably my 6th or 7th time discussing overnight parking. And, I have to admit, when I first came in, I was all gung-ho and very much in favor of overnight parking back in the day, and my opinion's changed over the years, honestly. I sent out an email, I have a 300-person email list, and I only got 75 replies, decent, I guess, but it was 39, change it, 34, leave it. And both sides very passionate about it, so it's one of those issues where it's gonna be split down the middle, and whatever you decide is gonna make enough people upset, but I feel for the issues, because I have them too in my district, where you have enough room to fit a car, and maybe a garage to fit a car, and if you happen to need 3, well, you're out of luck, right? And I don't like the reasoning, you tell people, well, you're gonna have to move to a bigger house, that's too bad, You have this small house, maybe that's all you can afford, and you have a spot for 1 car, well, too bad. But the reasons for having the on-street kind of outweigh the reasons to remove it. And I've seen that more and more over the years, and never thought I'd see myself saying that. And I don't see a push, an overwhelming push by people to change it. A majority so far from this very small sampling, but not a great outpouring. So for me, I would keep it the same unless we can find some creative way to allow it for those circumstances. I haven't heard it yet, and I can't think of anything, but my motion would be to receive and place on file.
Second, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of receiving and place on file, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No. Motion passes 2-1. Ma'am, we've already discussed it. This will go to the full city council on November 5th, Tuesday. If you wanted to discuss it to the full city council, I encourage you to show up and we can open the floor and let you address the whole. This is just a recommendation. The full city council will make the decision. Okay? All right, thank you. Item 3, consideration with possible action on 2020 Department of Public Works new and replacement equipment plans.
I'm going to hand out a couple of documents to save myself a few steps for the next couple of items. The top item that I handed to you is a table. It looks like this one. And that is the proposed DPW capital equipment expenditures. Historically, and I'm going to let Chris take this away a little bit here, but historically, we have had a budget item that is city equipment usage, and basically what happens is every time we roll a piece of equipment out of the garage, we charge ourselves for that. And that money comes out of the budget, gets put into our 203 capital equipment fund, and that's what we use to do equipment replacement. The last 2 years, that equipment fund has been cut to make budget. It is proposed not to be in there again this year, but rather we've gone to bonding 2 of those 3 years. 2019 being the only year we did not actually bond. So these are the pieces of equipment for the operations division, sanitary sewer district, stormwater utility, parking division that we are proposing to replace. Those that are in operations division would be bonded for with the bond issue in 2020. Those that are listed under the sanitary district and the stormwater utility and the parking division, those are non-levy supported. They are completely supported by those respective utilities. So they are part of the budget request that will be coming before the common council in a couple of weeks. So simply what we're doing is we're identifying exactly which pieces of equipment we are proposing to replace, what the anticipated cost is. And for those of you who've been around for quite a while, and I'm looking specifically at Alder Weary here, this goes back to a discussion that we've had many, many times about the ranking process and then score the number that's assigned and getting above or below the red line. So with that, Chris, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
The only thing I have to add is we presented in the same format as we have since I became Operations Division Director in 2005 for consistency. It's basically the same request that, with the exception of the utilities. The utilities did get new equipment this year because they're self-funded. But anything, sanitation, street, engineering, the operations division and stuff, basically this exact same request as 2019, because we didn't get any equipment this year. So, and with a couple changes that, based on what we've, learned over the last year, that, maybe we need this more than that. So it's basically brought forward the same request as the 2019 budget request.
And essentially what we're doing is we're identifying the individual asset itself so that you guys know exactly what we're planning on replacing and why.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay,
Nice job.
appropriate motion would be to approve or receive?
Yeah, to approve would
Can I
be.
get a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Weary to approve, second by Stoyer. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 4, consideration with possible action on the review and award of the following contracts. A, Pine Street Parking Ramp Tower re-roofing.
Okay, this contract summary is actually in your packet. It was received, I think we opened the bids last week. We had one bid received, but it is from a qualified competent bidder that we've used in the past. So staff is recommending award of the contract to Northern Metal and Roofing in the amount of $56,935.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve
Second.
4A by Stoyer, second by Weary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. B, Bay Beach Wildlife Sanctuary Observation Building RTU replacement.
Okay, this is one of the ones I just handed out to you. This contract, or bid was opened yesterday. We received 2 bids. Low bid is Milbach Construction Services in the amount of $47,650. We did consult with the Parks Department. Parks has confirmed that they do have the funding available to award the contract, so recommendation is to award to Milbach at the price that I just identified.
Move to approve.
Move to approve Millbach Construction Services by Weary, second by Stoyer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item C, DPW boiler room and upper roof, re-roof, parapet flashings and chimney repairs.
4 bids received. Low responsive responsible bidder was Weiner Roofing in the amount of $129,475. DPW does have money in the capital account to pay for this. This was anticipated as part of the budget last year. So recommendation is to award to the low responsive responsible bidder.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the Weiner Roofing, is that the?
Second.
The low bidder? Just want to make sure. Okay.
A little bit.
All right, motion made by Stoyer.
Second.
Second by Weary to approve Weiner Roofing bid. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item E, Director's report on recent activities of Public Works.
Just to let you know, we do have 3 vehicles, much as I hate to say this. We have taken 3 vehicles and converted them for snow already, just in case. We actually did have a couple of flakes falling a couple of weeks ago. Other than that, we've got everything that we own and a couple of things that we don't assigned to leaves, and we are making our way through ending our first rotation through the city.
Right,
correct?
just today or yesterday afternoon, we started in the second round, but basically just finished the first round.
Pretty much finishing first round up. So far, knock on wood, the weather is cooperating with the cold temperatures and some of the wind. It's actually starting to take some of the leaves down. Oaks are the ones we always worry about. They tend to hold on to the leaves a little bit longer. And the only other thing that I really had was a reminder for you that to spread the word to your neighborhood associations, and if you have the opportunity to attend as well. Tomorrow night, there will be a budget roadshow open house. I believe tomorrow night is at the Perkins Park Shelter. And then next
What time?
Monday is Triangle Hill.
7
So we will be around to answer questions and definitely welcome folks to come in and talk to us about the budget, so.
Thank you, Director Grenier. Motion?
Motion to receive and place and file.
Motion by Weary to receive and place on file. Second by Stoyer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 2, the next INS committee is scheduled for November 13th, subject to change. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Weary to adjourn, second by
Second.
Stoyer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, you're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Steve and Jim,
Yes.
Chris.